We reached the last leg of the season preview, still reeling from Brad Johnson's star turn last night, having finished off Buddy and put the pen through Freo. Imagine what he'll do to the bona fide strugglers. We're about to find out on the final sitting at the Fox Footy round table.
No, I don't think he'll get back into that top bracket. I think Sydney
he's finished, is he, John?
No, he's not finished, but Sydney is searching for too much from Buddy, it seems. And I'm completely on the outside, but watching him play, he's even searching too much in game for himself. So they're going to be in that mix of group, but I think out of the eight. And I think that because I can't see their scoring for the next couple of years getting to the point of really, creating a really strong percentage that's going to just absolutely, and I know it's been okay the last couple of years, but I think that will drop.
And then when Jono dedicated himself to the Trump campaign, that was just too much. I didn't have him pegged as our freewheeling radical.
Best sleep I've had in ages last night.
He's had a big summer, Jono. I didn't expect that.
It was a lot of feedback. Any buyer's remorse?
No, all good. None whatsoever.
Sure, your Twitter would have got in
the feedback, I suspect.
Yeah, no, don't look at that anymore. I learned that from Giggy.
At Fox Footy to have your say tonight. Melbourne, Port Adelaide, Essendon, the Gold Coast. But we start with the team out of the preliminary final for the past couple of years, North Melbourne.
Getting there. That is an absolute ripper. Boom! Stand up, everyone, for Brent Harvey. 400 games. These are the opportunities that he loves. A little chant for Harvey.
So the last four without finishing in the top four. Can the Kangas improve their home and away performance to give themselves a better shot at it? The accounting here, Kingy, with the balance sheet on the long-term trend of North Melbourne.
Bit erratic. 10 wins, 14 wins, 10 wins, 14 wins and 13 last year. So despite being a preliminary finalist team the last 2 years, they haven't really stacked the home and away wins together, 14 and 13. When you see their finishing position, you think it's more likely to be 16 and 15 or something around that mark. Their list is ranked 9th off the back of Goldstein's elite status and Brent Harvey still being there. And they've got the toughest draw in the competition. Right. That's the alarm bell for me. I'm not sure how that works. You can finish where they finish and have the toughest draw. No major ins and no major outs, really. So it's been a year of settling after being pretty active the previous couple of years.
So if I've been backgrounded right here, we're sort of the polar opposites. You're the biggest believer.
I'm really big. It's one of those years, I think it's either put up and shut up. And I think it's time they put up, and I think they will put up. I think for years Brad Scott they've gone to the draft. They've gone, Cunnington, McMillan and Tarrant and Atley and Black. I know he didn't have a great year last year, but I think he'll come back. Tippett and Zeeble and Wright the year before in 2009. They've given games to these guys over the years. And then they've gone, and for a needs basis, they've gone and got traded in Delcano, Higgins, Waite, and they've just brought in your young Will Anderson. I think just going to bring that speed on the outside. I just think now is the time. And if it's not now, then when will it ever be? Let's be honest. It has to be this year for me. And you're spot on, Kingy. If they're not winning, if they're not finishing top four, then the year's not good enough.
And you've stretched a little bit further than that. You're top two.
I think they'll finish top two. I went through the list. I had it come up with 16 wins. I know you're just about falling off your chair there, Jace. But if you look at their first 12 rounds, they play a lot of games at Etihad. They play the 2 Queensland teams, and they play 2 games at Blundstone Arena. They can win up to 10 of those. That's just bang. Their season's off and away.
But him saying it's the easiest first half of the draw ever, and him saying it's the hardest.
Not saying it's easy. I just say they can win these games if they want to be taken seriously.
I was bullish about North last year. I had them top 4 last year.
Now you've gone gun show, haven't you?
I have, absolutely I have. And I've had a look at the draw, and I had them around 12 wins. I just think, where's the improvement going to come from? They get Daniel Wells back almost like a recruit. I think he'll be handy. Jed Anderson's not a bad young player, but the bottom line was he wasn't getting a game at Hawthorn, so you can't expect him to come in and lift the team. There's a few of them that are
getting towards the veteran stage. And then there's that group for me. Luke McDonald hasn't quite come on the way he wanted to. Names like Attlee and Black and McMillan and Mullett and Wood and McKenzie, a lot of these guys have played enough footy now where Brad Scott's got to be challenging at least 2 or 3 of them to find that next level, because if they don't, they could slip the other way for mine. And the biggest query for me is what would ever happen to North if Todd Goldstein got injured?
Oh, it'd be trouble. Yeah, it'd be a lot of trouble. Ben Brown, plays that role that he's playing at the moment really well. Him to become possibly their number one on the back of that, and Madjak coming in maybe under him, and then that'd be tough. So it's a big challenge. Hopefully Goldstein stays fit. I think we all love watching him. I think the same again for North Melbourne. And what I mean by that, where the way they play their footy, I think we all enjoy watching the way they go about it. They're hard, they're tough, they're always competitive. The opposition know they're in for a big game when they go up against North Melbourne. In terms of the wins and losses and that side of things, no, I think they're a little bit. I think they're a little bit better than that. You get thinking whether North Melbourne can actually win the extra 2 games required to reach top 4 status, and can they go from their 13 wins last year to 15 to 15, 16 wins this year? Moons obviously thinks they have, but that's the big question mark for me. You'd think internally they'd be thinking it's only 2 games. We've got the ability to be able to achieve that.
How many times have we said over the last couple of years they're just losing games they just shouldn't lose? And this is my point. If they're going to be taken seriously, my point is this is the year they have to win those games. Like going up to Queensland twice, they probably would have dropped one of those last year or the year before.
The year before, definitely.
They can't do that this year.
Second oldest list in the comp, most experienced list. It's a profile that shouldn't be just limping into the 8. It's a profile that needs to be entrenched in the top 4, ripe to win a flag. And that's my reservation, that if that doesn't work and they come off fractionally, the trapdoor could just really open on them. Their ball movement is electric. It's been fantastic the last couple of years. When they're playing good football, they're great to watch. Yeah. But they allow the opposition some luxuries. They don't defend the opposition's ball movement anywhere near as well as what the top 4 teams do. And I've got real concerns about their small defenders. I think that they concede far too many goals. They're neither great defensively, whether that be one-on-one or a zoning arrangement, and they're not great offensively. Too many low possession players. Attlee's a low possession player. McDonald, he was a better player 2 years ago than what he is today. Yeah. McKenzie, they talk about first-round selection. It really hasn't locked down a position yet. He's not an elite user, which he is. He's an elite kick, but I don't see it game day. So I've just got so many little reservations that in the end I keep coming back to, well, why are they a lock for the finals?
Can Daniel Wells make the significant difference that I suppose we're potentially seeing at the moment? I know it's the worst word in the world, but is he the one that can actually go from being injured the way that he was with the Achilles and could not get up for a game to finally now we're seeing what actually through this pre-season period Daniel Wells can offer his club?
Well, keep the fingers crossed that he has an injury-free season, because he does give them exactly what they need with a bit of run and carry, some polished use of the footy, a little bit of wow factor.
They were plus 66, so top 4 for clearances in the competition. But minus 32 points on the scoreboard from a plus 66 starting point. Yeah. So they dropped from 4th best at winning it to 11th best at scoring. I mean, you look at it and you say, well, that's not right. Is it that first received player? Is it Wells? Is it Harvey? Can it continue to be those guys?
50, is that what you're saying?
Well, I just think it's not enough damage on the outside. They can move the ball.
They've got marking power. Yeah. Petrie, Brown, Waite. That's marking power.
And Higgins had some sort of year last year. I think he kicked close to 40 goals. Was his best return throughout his career. So you look at their free agents, and they've been tick, tick, tick. Waite, Del Santo, and Higgins. It's fantastic, but their drafting has been poor. You have to put it on the table. Their first-round selections the last few years. Attlee hasn't stamped himself. McKenzie, pretty much unsighted, really. Garner's just making his way. McDonald, we've spoken about. Durden in 2014. You just need to start to see some of these guys not just play footy. They're in the window. They need to play top-level football.
Yep. It is worth spending a moment. One of the bona fide highlights of the year will be if and hopefully when Brent Harvey breaks the game's record. And in all likelihood, this will not happen again in our lives following football. And it will be a stamp for him. I think it'll be a great moment for North Melbourne to truly enshrine them with something that they'll hold for a long time. And I think the sense of celebration around that will be rich.
It's an extraordinary display of professionalism and durability on top of the obvious talent that he's shown us and the way that he's been able to entertain us for so many years. But to still be able to do that and to still have his pace, to still have his thirst and desire for the game, it's going to be a big occasion.
And for the opposition still to worry about him the way that they do.
And that maybe identifies why perhaps North haven't gone as far as they need to go, because you're still stopping Boomer as one of the make it happen players for North when a few of the others haven't taken up the slack.
Kingy, do you think their backline, tall backline, is good enough now? I mean, intercept-wise, they're one of the best in the competition.
Yeah, Scotty Thompson's been unbelievable.
We've seen the big gorillas beat them up over the years.
Yeah, and I fear that Michael Friday may be coming towards the end. I fear that Scotty Thompson's played a lot of tough football that may take its toll. That next defender, Tarrant has been fantastic the last 12 months. Not sure about Joel Tippett. So there's a lot of reservations. I guess at the end of it all, you sit there and you say, not sure about this, not sure about that, not sure about the class, not sure about the depth, not sure about opposition ball movement against them. And in the end, I say, well, maybe they're just not a top 4, top 6 team.
What they do have is a real desire to compete and win. And that's what I think we all like about them.
So the final question on North Melbourne, in the best possible scenario in your mind, what's North Melbourne's best possible result?
I've got them top 8, but not doing any damage in September.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I've got them top 4, top 2.
So the best possible is winning the flag.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if they put it all together, they're capable. But as King said, there are a lot of what ifs, but I'm going with no what ifs this year. Yeah.
Best possible result for me is top 4 for them.
For me, I don't think it's. I haven't got them in the 8, and I'm a North Melbourne person, and maybe I'm hard on them, maybe I'm critical.
There goes your
phone call coming.
There's that life membership going out the window.
They've got 2 elite players. I mean, just talk about what we know. They've got Goldstein and Harvey, and they're 2 elite players. You're talking about competing with Hawthorn and Fremantle. West Coast have got 6, 7, 8 elite players. So that's a starting point. Their systems are not too dissimilar. They seem to defend better. So for me, that's where I've got them until I see otherwise.
That's the spread on North Melbourne. Melbourne is up next. The Roos Goodwin handover. How will this year pan out?
A little pass, and he found it! Oh, they've come to life there!
The last year under Paul Roos, Simon Goodwin having an increasing influence. Are they capable of making a substantial jump before the permanent change is made? The balance sheet on Melbourne, David King.
Yeah, some low numbers here, Jared. 8 wins, 4 wins, 2 wins. 4 wins, then back up to 7 last year. They've made drastic changes to the way they play in a bid to assist their scoring. Their list is rated 15th. A lot of youth on that list that hasn't been exposed. It's done over a 2-year period, so you have to take that into consideration. They've got a tough draw rated 4th, so that doesn't really marry up. The ins, Bug, Kennedy, Melksham, who won't play for them for the year, and Oliver as a drafted player.
Looks good.
Looks like a star in the making. The outs of Tompus and Howe, I don't think will rock the boat too much. I mean, they weren't critical parts of what they did last year.
So just before we open this up, there's been a lot to like about Melbourne through the NAB Challenge, mostly under Simon Goodwin and a new style of play. In your mind, is there any risk of getting caught between 2 worlds in this season?
The bottom line for me is I'm not sure why they would hand the keys back to Roosie. Now, it doesn't mean he does a lesser job. If Simon's done the full pre-season of strategic training, which he has, and the players are thriving on what he's teaching them and what he's showing them, it's different to what Paul was doing. So they know Paul's philosophy. And I understand it's a brick-by-brick approach, and they're onto this next phase of ball movement now. But Simon's coached the last 3 weeks, and they've almost hit 100 points each time in a 20% shorter games through the NAB Challenge period. I just think it's time. I mean, it's not disastrous if it goes wrong for a month or so. Is it really? They could correct while Paul's still there, keep the ship nice and calm. I just think it's time for Goodwin to take control. And it's a 3-year caretaker period. We haven't seen this before, so there's no right or wrong. But it's such a strange situation and setup that maybe it's just time to say, Goody, over to you. You do match day. I'll be on the bench and I'll be there for support. If you need me, I'm on your right shoulder. And during the week, we can, sort out the culture of the club and how the club should function and everyone's role and be one-on-one with the players. But I just think match day now is Simon Goodwin's responsibility.
So 2 wins, 4 wins, 7 wins. JC, in your mind, can they mark any more time or is it time?
Well, I had them around 7 or 8 wins. And it's interesting because I've loved what I've seen from them in the NAB Challenge. They've got to continue to take the game on. It's been exciting to watch. I've really enjoyed it. Yeah. We were all asked to come up with catchphrases of what we thought would characterise the team. And for me, before the world's greatest plagiarist got it and used it against North Melbourne, it was put up or shut up for Melbourne because I am sick. You are a shocker. It was written on my paper. I'm sick of hearing about, they're a young team and we're developing and teaching them to do this, teaching them to do that. I want to see something from them now. And it's not the number of wins. It's the style of footy that I've seen in the NAB Challenge. I want to see that in the season proper.
What we do need then to complement that is a full season or pretty much as much as they possibly can, hopefully no injury comes in, with the host of stars, young stars that they've got in this lineup. Hogan, Viney, Brayshaw, possibly round one back. Tyson, Salem, Petraka coming back from a knee. Frost, Vince, Jones, McDonald down back, Garlett, Gawn, add in Kennedy and Bug. All of a sudden, Oliver's the other one, who's had a great NAB Challenge period as well. If you can get a collective 18 games out of that group together, I think all of a sudden they will jump up those extra few wins that we're starting to see.
Is this the way that we're seeing them attack the game just through the pre-season? Isn't this just the natural progression? Like the last 3 years, I think they've had to get the contest right first. That was the main priority, and I think even Goodwin is a big on that, getting that contest right, and then they will eventually turn into the attacking side of the game.
It doesn't look like natural evolution. It looks like they've flicked a switch.
It's a radical change. This is a radical change. It's almost akin to what happened to the Bulldogs. Had the contest right, had everything in order. Yep. New coach came in and said, no, hang on, that's okay. Let's get this ball movement pattern right. And then all of a sudden it clicks. And I think that's pretty much what's happened. And that's why I'm concerned that you then flick the switch back the other way and confuse the message. I think it's a perfect
year for... And I just assumed it was going to happen this year, that Ruzi was just going to sit next to Goodwin.
He may. We're not on the inner sanctum. But if it is the same message, the same principles, because they're doing it as a collective, then why change back?
The influence of Craig Jennings, potentially, who he was the strategist, the analyst at the Bulldogs. He's a really smart guy, defend a certain way and then go and attack. And Bulldogs were able to benefit from the back of some of his analysis that he brought to the style that they'd like to play. And now Melbourne, you'd think, are starting to benefit maybe from this guy as well.
So Derm raised the issue with St Kilda as the long-term build. Do they have enough stars? He thinks they're right for soldiers. He doesn't know whether they're right for stars. In the lists that you've read out on the young players, do you think they've got the future stars in there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think they've got the right mix of stars as well. Future stars in terms of positional, where there's a couple in the forward, there's a handful in the mid, and then there's a couple down back as well. And the biggest thing for me over this whole pre-season period was Tom McDonald's interview a couple of days ago. And he was asked, all he spoke about was, we feel like we belong. We believe we belong now in this. We believe we've got a good club, a building stronger club, which he hadn't seen in his 6 years prior. Belief is huge within a playing group, and Melbourne are starting to get that.
The other thing that they've shown to me in this NAB Challenge, the way they're moving the footy, is the players actually are enjoying what they're doing. Not going through the hard grind of trying to be competitive, but they're going, hey, this works. How good is this when we move it quick and we get a bit of reward for what we're doing?
Really, and they go
from the contest, and they go, this is what the other blokes have been doing for a few years. We want more of this.
What about the start to Jesse Hogan's career? When you look at his numbers against first years of the like types, Franklin's and Rewalt's, and both Rewalt's and Josh Kennedy, he blows them away with scoreboard impact. And I mean, you've been there, you've both been there. To see him do what he's doing so early must make you think, where can he go?
Well, he's the bloke you build a forward line around. I mean, he's a superstar. And look, we watched him on the weekend. He had a dirty day. But he still used his body and did a few things that created goals for his teammates because he's got that footy nous and he's also got a bit of grunt in him. Yeah. I love him. I'd love to have him in any team that I was starting to get a hold of. He'd be one of the first I'd
He actually does things when he uses his body one-on-one that takes most guys to their mid-20s of just practice to learn. Like, he's doing that at, nearly 20, just banging blokes around.
The big number is he took 47 contested marks last year. He's comfortable with contact, isn't he?
Yeah. He's a man, and he plays man's football. He's not like a lot of the young blokes come in, take a while to get used to the physical nature of the game. He's all good.
Jared, I know I wasn't the most reliable kicker goal at times, but when I was lying, I didn't have the ball facing this way at some stage. I was running in, so someone down there in Melbourne just straighten that one up.
It wasn't a dreadful kick last year. He's got a couple of little habits. He'll work it out.
So just define Melbourne. So you've got them as the big improver. I think define that.
I think more just it mightn't come as wins, but I still have them as 9 wins, and that's not going to get them finals football. I think they're a long way away.
But
9, absolutely, 9's a brilliant year for them. I think but it's like you said, it's the game style, it's the way they play, and it's the excitement that they're going to bring week in and week out. That's where I think their improvement's going to come. We're not going to be calling them a basket case. We're not going to be laughing at them. We're going to be saying, how good is this?
I don't think they'll have any supporters at the MCG this year yelling over the race. I think that's the key. We won't see any of their cheer squad supporters with, head in hands at the end of the game.
Has Bernie Vince been one of the best pickups?
It's been terrific
in the last 10 years.
They probably needed him. Look at some of the numbers under Paul Roos over the last couple of seasons, 2014 to 2015. And I think the drastic jump is in scoring, and it had to change. I mean, 60 points a game in 2014 is subpar on any level. It's the worst scoring year that we've ever seen in the history of the game since the major rule change on the full back in the 60s. Last year jumped up to 72 points, so they found 2 goals. I know NAB Cup is a false read, but they're close to 100, so say it's halfway. If they can get it to 85, 86 points...
Another couple of goals on top of last year.
A couple of goals on top of last year, that'd be a win.
So the final question is, if you're a dad who's son barracks for Melbourne, whose number are you going to put on his jumper by the end of the year? Who's the player to commit the
Max? Hasn't he made I'm still going Jesse Hogan.
Yep.
No, you've got to go Hogan, but just maybe the second son might get Mackie gone.
I'm a Viney fan. Put number 7 on your back.
If you want to be attached to a freak, Christian Petracca's the one. By all reports, he does everything that a Robbie Gray does, except he's taller. And I think that's exactly what you want to hear from these high selections.
I hope he gets the opportunity to show us.
We'll take that segue to move from Melbourne to Port Adelaide next. This time last year, it was all Port Adelaide. They missed. What's it to be in 2016? Of steep improvement, flattened out in 15 and flattened a few predictions around the round table at this time last year when Port Adelaide not only didn't win the flag, they didn't make the 8, which has them on the wrong side of the balance sheet.
It does. They've gone from 3 wins to 5 to 12 to 14 to 12. How they missed the 8 I still can't understand. A list that's rated 5th in the competition with 13 players on that list above average or better. And a draw ranked 14th this year gives them every opportunity to bounce back from a poor year. Ins of Dixon and Tompus, your boy, and outs, Corns, and you'd have to add Ryder and Monfries with that as well. So Ryder's a massive blow for them, and I think those ramifications are only just being felt now.
Are you a believer in Port, Johnny?
I am. Yeah, I am. I think they'll respond. I think they must start 5-0 though. I think that's the critical aspect to their season. Confidence, being able to defeat some opposition which they were restricted in their ball movement last year.
So that's St Kilda, Adelaide
at home,
Essendon, GWS
at home,
Geelong.
Giants away, Geelong at home. So they got, what have they got there? 1. Adelaide's considered away, but it's home. So 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 5 in Adelaide to start. They need to be 5-0.
Where do you sit on Port, Jace?
I have no idea. I just want the real Port Adelaide to stand up. Did they overachieve in 2014? We keep saying they underachieved in 2015. Is the real Port Adelaide somewhere in the middle? Because they were a kick-off making a grand final a couple of seasons ago. And then they were getting beaten by some run-of-the-mill teams last year. I couldn't work it out. I found it nearly impossible to put a handle on how has the bottom fallen out so quickly. They weren't playing that fast running game, and yet, funnily enough, I saw them play Hawthorn a couple of times, and they're one of the teams that always gives Hawthorn a tough time. So their style of play stacks up against the best teams, but they weren't producing it often.
Last year, they beat Hawthorn, the Bulldogs, and Fremantle, all that played finals. So
they came
just goes to show they came
really
home
well.
very strong.
But I think, I think over the last couple of years they've tried to bring in certain players. Ryder, I think they brought in Ryder for the wrong reasons. He's not a forward. He's on his day, I think he's one of the best number one ruckmen in the competition.
It's good timing to get Charlie Dixon, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Charlie Dixon, to me, and I've been a massive fan of Charlie Dixon's for a long time, he's going to be huge for them. And I think on the back of Charlie Dixon, he's going to be the one that puts them back up into the finals. And the reason I say that is when Westhoff goes and does what Westhoff does, goes and puts himself behind the ball, that's when they've really struggled going inside 50. Schultz isn't your big hulking key forward. Schultz now gets to play a little bit more of a nicer role for him because he's a crash and bash player. But he's not a 6'5", 100-kilo player who throws his body around. You know, his body needs a little bit of tender care. Charlie Dixon is now that man that when they've got no Westhoff, it's just Charlie Dixon. He straightens them up.
You have to question, if you're going to question Harley Bennell, you have to question Charlie Dixon's approach to the game. His preparation, surely. They're like for like.
You've got to be in your bonnet about that. All we were doing was qualifying. You need to get the best out of him, so he's got to tick every box preparation-wise.
Every box.
And Charlie Dixon needs to do exactly the same thing, no doubt.
More, he has to do more. He hasn't played games. He's played 65 games in 5 years. But a lot of that's preparation.
A lot of ankle injuries.
Yeah.
His body's one that's let him down more than probably...
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I don't think you can separate the two. I look at Port, and I think they play some fantastic football. When they're on, there's no one better to watch. There's a lot of trick plays, a lot of flair, a lot of offensive gearing, if you like. But are they prepared to grind? Are they prepared to get involved in the hard wins when it gets really tough? Do they find a way to get across the line? They lost a lot of close games last year. They lost 5 games by under 5 points. So they were in a lot more games than what we give them credit for.
But 2 seasons ago, Kingy, they believed they'd run over anyone. And they did inevitably win all of those close.
They had some big injuries.
It dropped off last year.
Didn't they? With like Wines, Pollack they missed, Carlisle and Trengo were out for periods of time. White, that outside runner, was out for periods as well.
I think that they were 6 and 7 against top 8 teams. So they're good enough. We know they're good enough. Well, why didn't they make the 8?
Because they lose games that they should never lose against some ordinary opposition.
Did teams work them out?
I think they played a different way against Port. Every time you saw teams play wider, try and take the speed out of their game, try and deny them their switch, make them play super aggressive, which they love.
Will this 10-metre zone be a good thing for Port? Because Kenny's mantra is basically be brave.
Yeah.
That's what he loves to say, be brave. So that kick all of a sudden opens up in the middle for them now. I think this could be a really...
What about the interchange restriction? Is their running power wasn't a factor last year that it was the previous 2 years? Does it have the potential if footy is going to tire during matches?
Hasn't every team now got that running power? Most of the really good teams. Hasn't everyone now just lifted the bar?
I think we're too quick to say the interchange is going to have an impact. I mean, there's no sub now, so you're getting more rest than you had before, so...
I don't want to hear how many personal bests they've ran during a pre-season. I don't want to hear that. I just want to see it.
But you can understand why that was, because they've gone from playing at Amy Stadium where they were having sheets on the seats to then going to where they are now at Adelaide Oval. And I think that was part of just the build of selling Port Adelaide to Adelaide again.
Yeah, look... Maybe I just want to see it.
Yeah, and we all do now.
See it again. They've got some stars. They've got some freak players on that list. Robbie Gray, Chad Wingard, these guys, they're game changers.
They're the right age too,
turn the game
when
on
you
its
look at
head
them
in about
collectively.
5 minutes. And, Wingard's kicked 43, 43 and 53 goals the last 3 years. I think they love playing an exciting brand of football. I don't know if they love the grind. That's all I'm saying. And as soon as they embrace that, they'll win those close games. They won't be close games.
Well, I think they can win 14 games. That puts them in the mix. Thereabouts on the edge of the top 4, so they might be back in business.
No, I'm with you. I think 14. I think they'll be back playing finals football.
The Lobie side of things, so they don't get access to Ryder. It all hinges now on him.
But Lobie played his best football, and they probably played their best football on the back of Lobie being their number one.
Just rucks all day.
He's a workhorse. You've got Dixon to jump in there if they need to. Trengove can jump in there if they need to. But they've just got a big workhorse in there now. But I will go back and say, if Ryder was their number one ruckman this year, the sky's the limit, I would have thought. But
Yeah, they don't want an injury for Lobie.
No, not at all.
Look at their
It's like
clearance
Goldstein
work,
for North Melbourne.
their toughness, their clearance work. They're the reverse of what we talked about with the Kangaroos. They're minus 51 clearances across the course of the year, which is bottom portion of the table, yet plus almost 10 goals across the season. So when they get it, they make you pay.
Well, they keep hold of it. They run and distribute amongst themselves, and they've got explosive speed. Some of those guys you're talking about.
Because Boak, Ebert, Wines, Hartlett.
There's no reason for it.
These are tough boys.
There's actually no reason for anything at
staggering
Port.
stuff.
That's the problem. The more you look at it, the more you scratch your head and say, how they not?
There's
not only
upside.
not play
There's
8
upside, isn't there?
finals
How they not
footy,
win it?
How they not get in the top 4 with these this list and these capabilities? And I think that they could be the big spike. You know, they could break into the top 4. I'd be staggered if they weren't to play finals this year.
Does Kenny change
I think
their
he has
approach?
to. I think he has to. I think that when you look at the way they get... A lot last year, when you listen to the press conferences and you listen to the talk coming out of Port Adelaide from the players and from the coaching staff, it was almost as if they spoke about effort every week. And there wasn't a real depth of qualifying why they lost. Is it what strategy was going wrong? What part of their game was failing? And that's okay. They can keep all that stuff in-house. But I think this year we just want more talked about than just effort. Okay. Effort's a given in the competition now. Why are they winning? Why are they losing? I think this year will tell a big tale.
I don't think there's been a player at the desk who's been tipped to kick less than 50 goals. The final question on Port Adelaide is how many goals
Dixon
will
will
Charlie
get his
Dixon kick?
Charlie Dixon. How many will he
Put a number on it.
40.
40.
Yeah, 40. If his body holds up, 40.
You might have to just give us a slight variation for a
Probably
nearest
49.
49, that's a good bump up.
All of a sudden.
Might as well have gone 50.
I didn't go 50 though.
Jono, 30 goals.
Oh, a dreadful year, John.
That's a solid year, 30 goals.
That's a poor
Yeah,
year
it
for a
is.
key forward.
No, it's not. That's solid.
I'm going to go 2 goals a game, 20.
Now that's
think you smart out.
That is what he does.
Smart
Yes.
What he does.
Hey?
He's 65
You shouldn't
games in
wish
5
that on
years.
any
The numbers
player in
don't
the
lie.
Yeah.
All right, that's Port Adelaide. We've got 2 to go. I'm not sure how Gold Coast are going to feel about being bracketed with Essendon, but that's how we're going to finish off the round tables next.
It's Danaher Day at the MCG. Joe Danaher. This has to be a thought. The crowd willing him on. Killshaw, well, he won't kick it anyway. He has. Oh.
Can the defender become a goal kicker? Absolutely he can. This is the stuff of fairy tales.
It's difficult to say how much of that there'll be in the fresh season. Perhaps we now know what to expect. Just before we launch into Essendon, I do want to know, is anyone going to invoke the David King clause here and put up 0 wins?
Oh, it's dangerous.
How was that feedback last year? Bob?
Constant. Still going.
I threw up 1 because I think someone will stumble one day and the Bombers will get together and have a win.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't seen a team have donuts for the year.
But we haven't seen a team in this position.
I know, but surely someone like that. Someone will stumble.
I think they'll win, 2. I've got 2.
You're not going to invoke
Oh,
the
there's no
David
way.
King clause?
They'll win games, Jared. Let's just leave it at that.
The balance sheet is stacked against them.
It is 11, 11, 14, 12 and 6 wins last season. You feel for them, what they've had to endure as a playing group. Their list is ranked 18th because of all of the issues that they've had and the suspensions that they've had. The draw is ranked 17th, so that gives them some respite. Outside of the dozen that we keep talking about, you've got Fletcher, Carlisle, Melksham and Chapman who've moved on. The ins of Leuenberger and Bird and a couple of drafted stars give them some sort of core, but really, let's be honest, it's ground zero.
So the absent Bombers is that's the key here. So
it is.
we should do those right off the top just to give that idea of what is missing.
And I think when you look at the talent, and this is all their elite-rated players, Hooker and Hurley are the top 2 rated key defenders in the competition, top 10% of their position. Collier, Heppel, Howlett and Watson are in that next bracket, above average, top 30% in the competition in their positions. And then Hibbert, Hocking, Stanton are average players, good solid AFL players in a good age demographic. And then some of those just below average, Bell Chambers, Myers and Bears, who haven't played a lot of footy or missed a bit of footy over the last couple of years. So there's basically the core of their list is on the sidelines.
So and they're going to be hard to watch on various days. How do you approach Essendon? What do you look for in the year?
For me, the only thing I'm looking for is development. So every young player that's got a skerrick of ability on their list, pump as many games as their body will stand up to. I'm not caring about results. I want all these kids to play the style of football you want them to play. They're not going to execute it properly. They're going to make mistakes. But you teach them to play the style of play you're going to be going forward with. If you can get 10, 12, 14 games into all these kids, they're going to be so much better off in 12 months' time. And you paint a picture of what the future looks like so that all those players that have decisions to make about where they go next season go, actually, there's some good kids coming through here. I like the way we're playing. We get the right personnel back. We can go forward with that. For me, it's purely and simply about educating and developing the kids.
We're going to see players playing in positions that we probably wouldn't have seen. Like we saw Ambrose play back last week. Played pretty well.
He did. He's got some genuine speed.
Played really well down there. Real competitor, wants to fight. That's exactly what you want from your defenders. You're going to see the Merritt boys play more time through the midfield, which they probably wouldn't have got with Watson and Heppel and the likes through there. So they're the big things. But the biggest thing that what we noticed on the weekend and what we hopefully will see is Joe Danaher, who is going to be under a lot of pressure in that forward line. But what we saw on the weekend, this year might be the year where he develops so much because it's all on him, and we will see an absolute star. He has got the hallmarks of being one of, if not the best key forward in the game.
Can I tell you what I want to see? This is a free hit. This is a gap year, so they can basically do whatever they please. Let's be honest. Develop the players, develop the youth, give them games, fantastic. But why not play at breakneck speed? Why not say, okay, you know what? We're going to give the fans a reason to come to the footy. We're going to play fast footy. We're not going to chip the ball around, protect the defensive end. Because you know what? People are expecting us to leak. Just on talent, we're expected to leak. And then see if that can spark the forward line into some sort of return. They've been a really poor inside 50 team the last 2 years. Last in the competition last year with that full complement of players we spoke about before. So I think, get that right. And the highlights will come.
But is that the way you want to play going forward? I mean, there's no point playing any way different to what you intend your very best team in 12 months' time or 24 months' time to play.
Their very best team is not going to be next year or the year after. Let's be honest. I think
but you're still going to teach them the right style of football.
Teach them the values of the game, absolutely. But challenge them to be better than just chipping the ball laterally. Challenge them to be a go-forward team and to make the right option or take the right options at the right time. But be aggressive in that and try and score. Look to score.
I think we'll
look to spark.
Do that, don't we?
Yeah.
They more than others. I mean, if they just play to minimise the damage on the scoreboard, it'll be a long year for all.
But it'll eventually get to that though. If they're getting belted and belted and belted, they'll start chipping it around. That's going to be the problem.
Are they capable of producing a forward line that could start to kick goals?
Yeah, I think so. Danaher, Zach Merritt, I think, has got some really genuine talent there as well. Grimley's shown a little bit that might be able to hold up a little bit of a structure for them throughout the home and away season. Stokes was very good. I had a look, and they'll play Parrish and Francis at some point as well and get some good game time into those younger players throughout the season. But on the weekend, and the thing that drew attention to me was Craig Bird. Now, he's an interesting player because he's come from the Sydney team where he had some really good players around him, and he was either coming off on as a sub or he was coming in as that extra midfielder and just floating around and doing what he's doing. So it's an interesting year for Bird, and I look forward to seeing how he handles things because the opposition are likely to go to him first from the club that he has come from and the type of game that he can play. Can he stand up to it every single week? Haven't seen it yet, and he was challenged on the weekend. Didn't get much ball against West Coast because he hasn't got Watson, Heppel, and these guys in his sight. So this is a big year for Bird in his own development. I think as a player, being probably the number one midfielder for the Bombers.
Their presence in the competition is important, and the approach that other teams take has been much debated about resting players. Although in your ladder, Jono, which the auditors are yet to approve, but with the 8 teams on 12 wins and percentage, is playing them is going to be very important.
Yeah, we've had this discussion, Moons, and it's worth putting out there because if you're in that log jam, we'll go with Moons' terminology of the log jam, you wouldn't be resting against Essendon because percentage is going to come into play. And seeing what we did with West Coast, what they did to them on the weekend, these sides that may be looking to finish in the 6, 7 or 8, and if there's 6 or 7 teams there, maybe 8, then they're the teams that'll be looking to really get a boost against.
You have to max
maximise against Essendon, especially in the last. If you're playing them in the last month or 5 weeks of the season, that could be the difference. That percentage boost of maybe a 10%, which is huge, could be the difference whether you play finals or not.
The final question on Essendon is, it's pointless about this season, so the futures market is how many of the 12 players do you actually want back in 2017?
Well, that's the decision they have to make, and they would have a fair idea.
This is your decision.
My decision.
How many of the 12 do you want back?
At least half.
Yeah.
Is there an age? What's the age bracket there? Anything over probably 28, 29? You'd be thinking, could you get something for them?
Over 28 or 29, you got Watson at 31, Hocking at 28, Stanton at 29.
So you want
Probably
9 back?
You're not going to give Watson away, that's for sure. But Hooker's fine. I would definitely look to be trading Hooker if he wanted to go, because you're probably going to get something decent in return for Hooker.
Maybe that's the decision that needs to be made down the track. I'd say 8.
I'd be moving on as many as I could get first-round picks for. Now, it doesn't have to be a first round this year. It can be a future pick.
Yep.
And try and stagger and layer those picks and rebuild the club. Because, let's be honest, this club is in trouble now for a 3, 4, 5 year period. Build for that next wave.
One team to go. It's the Gold Coast Suns.
Crest here, that's bending. It's bending. It's beautiful. Oh, you beauty. That's the perfect smother. That's the perfect steal. And that's the perfect dribble goal. Glimpse of the jump. For the unlikely draw against the West Coast Eagles. He's got it.
Have you run a second set of books on Gold Coast, the with Ablett and without Ablett, in the long-term trending?
Oh, I haven't, no, but we could do that. He's not getting any younger, Jared. Let's have a look at their balance sheet. 3 wins, 8 wins, 10 wins. And we all thought they'd keep going, back to 4 last year without the influence of Gary. List is ranked 14th, 13th to 14th, and a draw rated 16th. That list rating is a fascinating discussion in itself that we'll have in a moment. Ins of Rosa, Grant and Archie, drafted star, and the outs are significant. Dixon, Smith and Harley Bennell. That list rating of 14th, now whether you agree with it or not, is done on elite players being the top 10% for their position, above average players being the top 30% for their position, and average players in that middle bracket of 35%.
So it's not subjective.
It's not
There's
subjective.
A formula applied across
is
the competition.
Exactly, over a 2-year period. So there's a lot of grace given.
Yep.
They've had 5 years of development
That's
off the base of elite talent. To be rated 14th is a real concern for me. Losing players of that quality is a concern. And the rumours about Prestia and O'Meara is another concern. I don't know where I sit with Gold Coast, but my biggest concern is their talent this year and next year. Life after Gary, if you want to talk about that. I know that's not a conversation that needs to be had today, but it has to be in the back of their minds.
Are you put up or shut up with the Suns?
Look, I think they're the bolter. I really do, yeah. And I think they've got a draw that will allow them to possibly get up to around 13 wins. Come the end of...
More than 12?
More than 12. I got them in the 8.
You've got them above the average.
I got them in the 8. It might be 12.
I think that's top 4.
Anyway, enough of that. But it is early on, which is critical for this side. They're drafted well over the last couple of years. Look, last year with the suspensions and the injuries that really did hurt them as a football club. NAB 2, when they played West Coast and they played a young side and nearly got the win that day. Rocket, I think, has finally drummed through that group, the style, across the entire playing group, the style that he wants to play. And that was the significant moment for me over this pre-season competition, because they were all young, hardly any senior players in there, and they played the way that he wanted. All of a sudden you add in the stars to complement that they've got. I think they'll really push, and they play some sides twice that they'll win easy.
Is it as clear as that?
I need some of Jono's happy pills, because I'm genuinely concerned for the Gold Coast this season. They've been trying to rebuild the culture, which had problems. We know they've had a heap of injuries. Some of those injuries are hanging around. Swallow, still in trouble. O'Meara, we don't know when we're going to see the best of him. Ablett hasn't played pre-season. getting less durable as he gets older, but I hope he gets back because I just love watching him play. But I just don't share your enthusiasm. I had them around 9 wins, and I just get the feeling that they could, in fact, in general, footy in Queensland could become the biggest headache for the AFL in the next 12 to 24 months.
They played without a midfield last year, Moons, didn't they? You have a look at the games for their core midfielders. Ablett played 6, Prestia 8. Swallow and O'Meara 6 between them. Ruscitelli 21 and Hall, who could be a star, 15.
He was their one shining light really last year.
And Lynch.
So really hard
Hard.
to judge them without a midfield when you look at all the indicators.
You look at them on paper, you look at their team on paper, you think this is a pretty exciting team. But again, you're missing players too often, particularly through the midfield. I think their bookends are as good as any young bookends in the comp in Stephen May and Tom. I think Tom Lynch is arguably the best young key forward in the game.
Who's giving Lynch a chop out up forward?
Well, this is the problem. Sam Day has been around. He's played nearly 78 games. That's a lot of games for a key forward to get to know his game and to know who he is as a person. And I look at Sam Day and I just don't think he knows how to play the game at the top level on a consistent basis yet. He should be that number 2 key forward, dominating games at stages, really helping Tom Lynch out. So for me, this is a do or die year for him. They need him to step up if they're going to do anything in that forward line, because it's all on Tom Lynch. There's only so much he can do. And he is a star, but there's only so much he can do. If Sam Day doesn't step up this year, I'm not sure where Sam Day's career is going to go.
They haven't got great crummers up forward either. I mean, Matera lost his way there for a while. He's fighting his way back in, and I think he's a talented player, but I just don't see enough firepower in the makeup of their forward 6. I'm genuinely concerned. We keep talking about all the talent they had accumulated. It's been there long enough now that it needs to start shining through. And if it doesn't shine through, then I think if we start thinking about, well, they've got to prepare for the next wave now, that's a massive setback for them.
And that's part of 2016, isn't it? Is they have to show the trajectory is up, because if you start the rebuild after the first build, which never came to fruition,
given what you gave them
at other clubs,
given what you gave them, and that's my concern. I'm not sure the trajectory's up.
Right.
Jack Martin's one we don't know yet. I mean, from all reports up there when he first got drafted, everyone's just like, look out, this kid's going to be unbelievable. A couple of injuries, we haven't quite seen him. So there's another one that, you know, for their sake, they're hoping just takes that next step and blossoms.
They got a real leader up there in Took Miller. I think that he's going to be a very good AFL player, if not better than that. Classy finisher, hard-nosed over the footy, could become a very good clearance player for them. So there are a few players that offer them hope. We probably need to assess them with their best midfield in. But will that ever be the case? You know, history tells you that it's not going to be the case.
Does their best midfield allow, we're talking about Fremantle, does it allow Ablett to push forward and stay more forward?
I think it does with, when you mentioned Miller, who can play as a forward. Jack Martin can come in for a few bounces. Hall, which will allow the likes of Ablett or a couple of others to go forward as well.
He would, but you'd want Gaz's buy-in. Because he wants to get back to being the premier midfielder in the competition.
Yeah, you get 50 goals, but you lose 15 inside 50.
Well, the minus 45 of clearances last year, which is the bottom 4 or 5 in the competition, but then minus 300 points off the back of that, which was clearly last. So defending lost clearances has been a real issue for him.
And Jaeger O'Meara is probably part of this question as to how he goes back into the midfield and what he's going to become.
The last question, a bit like the Buddy question, implicit in this is, can he recapture his place at the very top, not just near the top? Can Gary Ablett win a 3rd Brownlow medal?
I love him. He's one of my favourite players to watch, but I'm going to say no. I think he'll be back near the top, but I don't think he's going to be right at the very top.
I'm not going to say no, he can't, but it's going to be very tough for him to get to the absolute.
You weren't given a fence-sitting option.
Well, I'm sitting right on it.
Put up or shut up?
Yes.
No, he won't.
Thank you.
That's better.
He won't win a
interrogation. He's not very good, is he?
He cracked
lamp.
He won't win a Brownlow medal again. Can he recapture top 10 player in the comp? Yes, he can, but I don't think he'll win a Brownlow.
No, top 10's a low base for the guys.
Top 5.
I know. I actually think the challenge of Fife and Dangerfield being seen as number 1, number 2 in the competition now hurts Gary. And reading what Mark Robinson put in the Herald Sun a couple of weeks ago, I think Gary's enjoying that challenge.
Good motivation.
It's driving him to become the best again.
Okay. So your answer was yes.
Yep.
Well, the judgments are cast. We'll see how you all go in October. That's the round tables. On Monday night at 7:30, AFL 360 returns. My time away from Robbo is at an end. It's coaches' night. Chris Scott is in to join Nathan Buckley. So Geelong and Collingwood central to this season. And then on the couch, you've been granted permanent residency, Kingy. Well done.
Not for long.
Jared McVeigh's the lead-off guest there with the
This will
Swans.
be good because Sydney's a good talking
questions
point.
swirling around. Enjoy your season. We'll see how you all go.
Let's go.
That's the round tables on Fox.
This has been a Fox Footy production, part of the Fox Sports Network.